Hi, I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and I have become intrigued with Modiphus's 2D20 Dreams and Machines setting as of late, which hits a lot of the beats I look for in a post-apocalyptic game. So when I saw that the system was getting an expansion called The Broken Steps, I reached out to Modiphus and requested a review copy. They were most gracious and provided me a copy of the book for review. But as always, I have not been paid for this content, nor have any requirements been placed on me as to what I am allowed to say about this book. These are my free and fair thoughts. This is my look at The Broken Steps for Dreams and Machines. Let's roll it. The Broken Steps opens by pulling back the veil from the mysterious Conduits. Now, surface dwellers on Avira Prime refer to these people as thralls, and they know nothing about this group. So I gotta say I'm of two minds about this new revelation about who these people are. First, I gotta say I do love that the Conduits have become more fleshed out. There's information in this book about their origins, how their society functions, and even their naming conventions. That's all really cool. And the Game Master's Guide hinted that there was more to the thralls than the Avirans had assumed, but the Broken Steps takes these inferences and rounds out the lore of this unique people, including naming some of their unique settlements, which they call nodes, and identifying key leaders. That's actually pretty cool. On the other hand, what made the thralls, the Conduits, so interesting is that the players literally had zero information on who they were, but the GM actually was privy to. This kept the Conduits as a mystery which needed to be explored, and I love that idea. So I am a tad disappointed that the Broken Steps almost hand-waves some of their mystery in order to make Conduit PCs possible. Because now at least some of the players are going to know who the Conduits are, and that removes a cool mystery from the lore. But I do gotta say that adding Conduit characters creates some interesting role-playing opportunities. Because there's no reason, for example, that anyone playing a Conduit character has to divulge any information about their people to the other players. In fact, not doing so would be consistent with the lore. It also opens up character arcs about the Conduit character trying to make space among the very groups their own people insist are evil. That actually intrigues me. So I remain of two minds about this people becoming more fleshed out and becoming a playable background. But I can't say that I am not intrigued by the idea. Located on the less developed continent of Mrblahface, even pre-war, the Broken Steps was a sparsely populated region with little in the way of what we would call civilization. The region's settlements were a geologic research facility, a garden preserve located in the mountains, and some failed businesses in the volcanic plains, and that was pretty much it. Pre-war, the remote nature of the Broken Steps had made it the ideal place to house the Lasaio Archive, and this in turn is what helped the Archive avoid the Builder's wrath until the very end of the Builder War. While the Lasaio, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Archive was lost and believed destroyed as the world ended, rumors of it still abound in this area. Some hints as to the fate of the Archive really would have been interesting to be included in this book, but we might have to wait until later to get some of that information because it is nowhere to be found in this supplement. A number of factions which appear in the player's book have settled in the Broken Steps. And this is in part because Wakers are not as common there in that region because the builder wasn't building as much in that area when the war broke out. The included locations on the map, of which there are 19, reveal some of the ingenuity the survivors have shown as they adapted to this hostile environment. There are spears who have risen up in an old nature preserve. An entire city has been formed in the abandoned trenches of something that is akin to a laser tag arena. There's a conflict between a group of dreamers and an Aviran mining settlement who share space in a lotus-shaped canyon, and the Conduits also have their own location in the region with their own unique spin on survival. Cool stuff. Each of the locations includes a brief history, key NPCs, and a number of story hooks to draw the location into a campaign. The lore, that's top-notch, and I found it easy to read. There's even a potential treasure trove in the form of the abandoned research city of, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, the word is right there. And I gotta say, the whole region is rough and tumble. There's dangers emerging from the environment, other people, and the ominous Wakers who, even though there's not a lot of them, they're still around. There is a lot of adventure to be had in this area. Now, I do have a couple of critiques on the region content. First, the map has a hand-drawn look which needs a bit more contrast. See, while the teal highlights in the book are pleasing to look at, using that color for the numbers on the map makes them fade into the background. They're harder to see. Second, while there are 19 numbered locations on the map, there's only a fraction of those locations receiving a write-up in the book. Now, the write-ups which are present in this chapter, they're fantastic. As I said, the lore is top-notch. But I would have expected each of the named locations to at least have a short blurb dedicated to them. It's not there. Also, one of the locations which does get a significant write-up in the chapter, Tawny Bluffs, that's the mining settlement, it's not even identified on the map. It's in the Lotus Canyon, but it's not specifically pointed out. It's a little weird. So while I love what is there, I think the whole section would have benefited from having a more detailed map and a key which made sure each named locale got at least something written about it under their own heading. I have never been interested in settlement building in TTRPGs, and for that reason, I was prepared for the need to drag myself through the Broken Steps chapter on this topic. Instead, what I found is I couldn't put it down. Communities formed by the PCs have short and long-term goals, their own spirit pools, and will eventually generate the resource points they need to further their own expansion. The process presented in the Broken Steps begins with a shared narrative scouting step, which encourages the players to let their imaginations go nuts as they dream up their ideal spot for a settlement. It's pretty cool. As the characters further develop their settlement, they'll be able to add structures which draw in skilled NPCs to populate them. And then aside from the new NPCs, structures also make a wider amount of resources available to the town. And then as the tech level increases, more specialized structures can be constructed, which provides access to items with a higher tech level. So there's a way to build the world for the players that they do themselves. It's pretty wild. When a settlement fulfills its long-term goal, it becomes a town. And that transition into a town increases its renown as a cultural center, which in turn draws in new inhabitants and increases the responsibilities for the town's leaders. This increased responsibility makes it impossible for the characters to maintain both their adventuring lifestyle and their leadership roles in the settlement. So at this point, the players may choose to retire their characters as adventurers, turning them into friendly NPCs who run the town. Or if the players choose, the characters can give up their leadership roles in the town and continuing adventuring. This will give the PCs the truth, local legend, which will give them perks in the town. It's a kind of a cool spin-off. Parties can also take that moment to do a bit of realm building and instead just leave that town behind and strike out to create another settlement. This begins the process again, but with the new location starting out as a village. You've got a couple more buildings that are available to you. PCs may found up to 3 settlements this way, which would create a wide area which emerged from the same culture that the PCs created. I appreciate how settlement building in the Broken Steps leverages the process to draw players into world building their own bit of Avira Prime. I'm going to make them invest a lot more in what happens there. It's pretty cool. The Broken Steps introduces rules for mounted combat and does so in a very simple way. Mounted attacks are basically just an assisted roll. The mount uses one of its skills and attributes and rolls a single d20. Any successes recorded on that roll add to the player's total. It's a clean mechanic and I like it. But at the same time, mounted combat is not all bonuses. Should a character's mount get hit, the PC will fall off the mount with a hard fall 3 wound. So while mounted combatants will have the possibility to generate more successes than normal, it also means more risk to the PCs to suffer a serious injury is also increased. That's kind of cool. Now, most of the new equipment that's included in the book is specific for Conduits, which makes sense given their introduction as a playable culture in the game. Some of their gear is quite cool and it matches Conduit culture really well. I am impressed by it. There are also some new talents added for each of the Dreams and Machines archetypes, and these are a nice way to add a little bit more differentiation to the characters without overwhelming players with a flood of choices. It's not a ton that's added into the game here, but the new talents do offer some really cool paths for play. Finally, the Broken Steps introduces 5 new glyphs to the game. And these digital patterns are effective against wakers, those hostile mechs which sometimes begin moving and seek out human life to destroy. Glyphs are the closest thing the game has to a magic system, and the ones that are introduced in the Broken Steps offer whole new ways to influence, not dominate, the machines. I do have to say that I enjoy the limited scope of a glyph's power. You're not going to be unleashing huge magical effects into the world, but you can do that one little thing that might change the whole story of an encounter, and it's pretty cool. The Broken Steps follows the design language established in the Dreams and Machines core rulebooks. The body is a pleasant reading serif font, and headings are a distinct sans serif font with glyphs that are taller rather than they are wide. The teal accent color is also carried over from the core rulebooks, and it's used for the background color for third level headings, the page number blocks and chapter titles found in the footer, and in the titles for the callouts, as well as all the stat blocks. The callout titles are an interesting touch, as it's actually the only place where the heading font appears in a heavier weight. It's something that's very noticeable. Two lighter variations of the teal accent color are used in the book's tables to create alternating row colors, and tables are easy to read. That's something that I always appreciate. The only places the teal accent isn't used for headings is in the table headings and in the section titles for individual pieces of equipment. In these cases, the heading font is presented in white against a black backdrop. The artwork also carries over the dreamy style of the core rulebooks, which lends well to the mysterious nature of Avira Prime after the Builder War. There are also a number of hand-drawn pieces in the book, including the maps I mentioned earlier. These help the book fit into the Dreams and Machines line very well, but most lack the fourth wall breaking comments which appeared alongside these elements in the core book, which was such a nice touch. The interior artist, I do have to say, they did a fantastic job, and the overall art direction is terrific. The Broken Steps is a full-size book weighing in at 140 pages, although the last content is the settlement sheet, which is found on pages 136 and 137. There's nothing on the end pages, and that's always a little bit of a bummer. I like cool stuff to be there. The cover artwork, though, that's stunning. It demonstrates the harshness of the environment in a way the written essays just cannot possibly hope to convey. It shows potential readers this is going to be a different experience. Not only is this setting part of the post-apocalyptic setting of Avira Prime, it also reveals how the Builder's remnants aren't the only aspect of the planet that is attempting to end humanity. This is a dangerous place, and the cover art conveys that really, really well. The book itself is stitched binding, so it lays open well. The paper's glossy, which always makes me sad, but I realize I'm never going to win this war against glare. There are, however, no book ribbons, and that's a huge bummer for me, especially because I can see myself heading back to these settlement sections over and over and over again, and having that book ribbon there, that would have been really cool. Overall, I gotta say, the product is well presented and it's built well. The Broken Steps has done something I didn't think was possible. It made me want to try out settlement building, because the narrative nature of the process appeals to me in a way that other systems just have not been able to do. I think the addition of Conduits as a playable faction is a nice touch, which can have some amazing role-playing ramifications, but I am a bit bummed that it removes some of the mystery from the game. I understand why they did it, but I'm just a little bit bummed. It's not a showstopper for me at all. I do have to say the mounted combat rules, they're really cool. Do you need this book to enjoy Dreams and Machines? No, but that's pretty much true for any splat book which extends a core game. I do say, however, that it offers some compelling additions to the game which can make it more interesting. And overall, I really want to get Dreams and Machines to a table in 2026. If you want to pick up the Broken Steps for yourself, you can grab it at your friendly local gaming store or from the Modiphus website. Right now on the US store, the print and PDF combo is going for about $48. The PDF alone sells for just a little bit over $27. Coming up, I've got Joe Wetzel from Inkwell Ideas scheduled to be on the channel on Monday, March 9th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Joe's been on before and has a really cool new project currently crowdfunding that we'll be talking about. If you are a fan of 80s music, and you should be, you'll want to surf in. The DM Tales TTRPG Book Club will be continuing our exploration of Daggerheart on March 25th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where we'll be covering chapters 3 through 5. If you'd like to be part of the book club's off-stream discussion, all you need to do is become a DM Tales Coffee contributor. That gets you access to the DM Tales Discord and the forum channel where our conversations take place. Comments made there could appear on stream, and participants may even get a chance to be on the book club stream in future episodes. There may even be episodes where I'm just producing. I'm not actually on camera. I've got Coriolis the Great Dark being read. TMNT is mocking me. Darn you. Redacted is laughing at me, and Savage Worlds Rift is wondering why it's been forgotten. It's sitting there on my shelf, and I do need to open it up. I've got a lot of reading to do. I am looking forward to bringing all of this to you, and until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.